We're done with that part, Pepper. We don't need that. I might cut off some parts of it for other parts, but we're done with that. Okay, it's Friday the 19th, about 2 in the morning. Main goal today is to cut away what we need from the front end. Like I said last one, I like the look of these things. This is part of the chassis that I cut off. It was, it kind of fit along that line there, you know. It used these holes in here the bed would slot into. You can see one of the tabs sticking out there. They'll go into these holes anyway. Where they came from is not important. What is important is that I realized what I want to do with them. This is the paintball mask I mentioned before. I found it for $4 at Goodwill, and I'm going to use it as part of the helmet. So yeah, those will go on the sides, and then I'll build a box to go on the top and the back. Or I might see if I can find a plastic tub to use. I don't know, but I'm thinking these will be part of the helmet. Anyway, you can see the lines here that I drew. Give you an idea of what part that we're going to be keeping and what part we're not. Might be keeping the radiator here. I might not be. It might get in the way like those flaps on the legs section did. But everything on the left side of the line and on this side, on the right side of the line, is going to be cut away. Well, I've got a lot of work ahead of me. Alright, I got this thing mostly gutted. I haven't been stopping because it's been going pretty much without incident. As you can see, I got the inner part of the firewall off. Try to get it off in big chunks because I think I have an idea for it. Of what I can do with it. You know, specifically this wheel well on each side. Together. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the wheel well out. You fuse the two halves together, and that'll be the back half of the helmet. I might have to extend it with some sheets. That'll provide a good foundation. So I guess now I got to finish taking out the others. This was the driver's side of the firewall. Now I need to take out the engine side of the firewall and trim off any bits that I've left behind so far. You know, I gotta trim that off and trim that off. Get it with the jigsaw if I can. I might have to use the handsaw. There's another piece there. And once I've done that, that'll pretty much do it for the cutting. The rest is going to be, gluing and painting and sanding. Fab work. This thing is just about dissected. All right, it is done. Oh, well, hold on. There's a couple little tabs. There I might cut off. I don't know, but for the most part, we've got the front clip free. It's pretty flimsy, but once I got the grill and the hood back on, it won't wobble around so much. It's I guess I'll just have to show you when I go try it on in front of the mirror. Offer it up. It's going to be sitting a bit higher than I thought it would. I don't think I'm going to be using the wheels as the shoulder pads after all, because I don't think there's going to be enough clearance. I think I actually had an idea. I think one way that I could attach this thing to myself is I'll go to Big 5 Sports or try the thrift stores, see if I can find a catcher's chest plate. I think that would suit my needs pretty well. Just find an old one, and bolt it on. And then I don't want it to be super obvious that that's what it is under there. So I might I'll probably add some other detail parts to it. I don't know. That's just an idea I had. On the other hand, some of those catcher's chest pieces are pretty heavy, and this thing's going to be a bit difficult to walk around in as it is, so I don't know. I'll figure something out. Maybe I'll use an apron. Don't know. We'll see. Okay, so I went fetched the hood and offered it up, and it looks like, see, I wasn't sure what parts I would have to leave to mount the hood. I mean, obviously the holes for the hinge is gone, so I'm gonna have to bolt it on anyway, slice it. But I think now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut these corners off that are exposed. Not these, but this section down here, because that's cutting into my shoulder when I offered up myself. I'm still not entirely sure how I'm gonna mount this thing. I held it up to myself with the hood on, and I'm gonna have to find some sort of compromise here, because if I hold the edge of the hood straight up to my chest, my arms aren't going to be very mobile, even with the corners cut. You know, those corners I'm going to cut off. I don't know, but I don't want to cut into the. I don't really want to. My original plan was to kind of have my head sticking out of the hood, because of the. I was going to have the wheels be my shoulder pads. What you got? Pepper, don't play with that. Don't play with that. Here, you know what? Scare you off with a saw. I don't want you chewing on that plastic. You're gonna choke. What are you doing? I would never actually hurt my cat, folks. I love these little girls. But, I don't want her... That's why I don't want her playing with Pepper. No. I don't want her to chew on that and choke on it. Anyway, I'm still not entirely sure how it's going to be mounted, but for sure I'm going to have to cut those corners off. And I'll go ahead and cut the flags off while I'm at it. Moving on. Alright, so these are the lines I'm going to follow to cut those off. I did leave, I'm not entirely sure what these posts were here for originally, but I'm leaving them in place because I might need them to mount the hood. Anyway, go ahead and make the cuts. Oh, and I did take the flags off the hood. So, all right, make the cuts now. All right, I removed those sections that I marked off, and I also there would have been some corners left behind, so I went ahead and lopped those off too, so they're not poking at me later. All right, I think now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this front end, take the hood, maybe tape the hood down, and try it on in front of the mirror again. All right, I put a little packing tape to hold the hood on while I offer it up. And there we go. So as you can see, I'm gonna have to figure out how I want to do this. To the side, you can see that the engine bay is just almost big enough to cover my side, but I might have to cut in the hood to make a little more room. Might have to cut this thing away. I don't know. I think maybe before I make any big decisions, I ought to finish working on the doors. Finish cutting off what I'm not going to use, patching up the holes left behind, and bolting them together. And then we can see how much room I'm going to have with those in the back, and where I'm going to need to be making the cuts. I think for now, though, there's not much I can do. I can trim the doors away, but in terms of the the front end, I think I've reached kind of an impasse. So that's enough of that for now. I think that's gonna do it for now. Got a big pile of parts there. I've got my bed. I've got my front end, and I've got my doors. It's the last bit of major cutting. Obviously, I still need to clean these up and figure out how I'm going to patch up the holes. But beyond that, the cutting is all done. I may still need to cut, do a little fine tuning. But this is more or less, my pelvis, my torso, and the back of my torso. For now, though, this phone needs a charge, so I think I'm going to call it a day. Alright, it's the 20th. The phone has had time to charge, and so have I. I guess the next step is to cut off what I don't need from these doors and start cleaning them up and picking around my scraps to find panels I can use to cover this and finish that and do the edges on the, well, not this, because this is, they're gonna, after I finish sawing that off, these two are gonna be fused like that. Yeah, and then we patch the holes like I said, and then cover the ends. And then I've also got to find panels to cover the sides of the front of the sides of the bed. So yeah, that's the game plan for today. Okay, so if anyone's trying to do what I'm doing for whatever reason, I came in with the jigsaw and cut along this way, and then I came up. I cut. Well, actually, first I made this cut. I cut up this way, to bisect it, and then I came up along to remove that half, and then from there the angle wasn't so awkward. I was just able to hack the rest off using most of the rest off using the jigsaw. I did have to get in there with the pocket saw a little bit, but for the most part, I came off pretty easy with a jigsaw. I think now I'll go ahead and clean up the edges and just move on to the next one. I just went ahead and hacked that other part off. To clean up the edges, I'm going to need a couple of things. I'm going to need a piece of wood to stick in this to support it while I cut it. And also I'm going to need a carpenter square so I can line that up and line it up with the front too. These cuts are going to need to be as straight as I can possibly get them so that, well, not so much those cuts, but although they need to be pretty straight too because they're going to be exposed. And also, I'm going to have to glue the scraps on them to cover the edge. But these for sure, I am going to need to get as straight as I can possibly get them because they're going to be fused together. So yeah, I'm going to need a 2x4, maybe even something a little bit thicker. I ideally what I would want is a brick, but I don't know if we have any. Put a brick in there and grab a carpenter square. I found the carpenter square. And as for the 2x4, I thought of something even better. This is a, I don't know what you would call this thing. It's a ladder thing that my dad built. He's got a few of these. And he uses them with his chop saw for when he's cutting large sheets with his chop saw. I think this is just what I need to hold this thing steady. I could probably line up that line there on the door with this cross piece and use the cross piece as a guide. First, I gotta mark everything out with the carpenter square. Okay, I finished cleaning up the left door. I went ahead and cut the pocket off. I think it's just gonna be easier to square everything up without that in the way, and it just kind of be hanging in the middle. Wouldn't really look like anything. So with these edges, I'll probably end up giving them a pass or two on my dad's planer to make them nice and straight, but that's basically where they're at. These edges don't matter so much because I'm just going to be putting a panel on the end and filling it with glue and putty and smooth it out. This one, though, I probably will hit with the planer, because I have to make sure that the two edges that are going to meet are perfectly straight to make assembly as easy as possible. So yeah, and then obviously I've got plenty of scrap to work with to fill that hole, and the to make the ends. Well, not this. I don't need to make a panel for that, obviously, because it's just going to meet with that. But to make this end and to cover the exposed edges on the bed. So yeah, just got to do what I did on here on that one, and then I don't know. I guess I'll go in the garage and see if I've got any metal brackets or anything I can use to start stitching these two parts together. Alright, so I grabbed some duct tape to tape the two halves together. I couldn't find the planer. It's just as well. I got those edges straight enough. Anyway, so I taped them together with some duct tape. I didn't have quite enough to wrap the whole thing, so I finished it with packing tape. But I got it along both sides. And with it taped together, I took a carpenter square to get a nice straight line to cut along. So I've got it as one line. Looking at this is actually held together pretty well. I may just use duct tape for the final assembly. It obviously not blue, but it's gonna be black. Trailbreaker is black, so I'm still not sure if I want to do flat black or gloss black. I think gloss would look better, but I am kind of running out of time. I may just have to hit everything that's supposed to be black with a flat primer, and some of the other parts with silver. But at any rate, I can use some black. If I do go with the gloss black, I can use some duct tape to cover the seam. It won't look amazing, but if I can't find a way to bond it, find a better way to bond the two halves together, that may be the way I have to go. We'll see. For now, I've got a line to cut. Okay, so I made the cuts. It's a little off in some sections, but hey, it's close enough. It turned out a lot better than I thought it would. I was afraid of losing the blade, losing control of it, popping over the place, and I went ahead and cleaned that up. These don't have to be the same. I don't know. Maybe I'll trim them to be closer, but my thinking is after I patch them, I'll stick the exhaust pipes on that section, one here, so it's less noticeable. So anyway, I guess now what I'll do is I'll dig into the pile of scraps and come up with some patches. Still not sure how I'm going to attach it. What I'll probably do is I'll tape one end on, tape the inside on with duct tape, and use some sort of epoxy to attach each section. Then after it's dry, flip it over and do the other side, and then sand and paint. That's the plan. Okay, I've got this piece here that I cut out from the scrap as part of the the inner part of the front end that I cut out. Anyway, so I got this piece. I'm gonna hold it up in here using some chip clips I got from the kitchen. We have like proper woodworking clamps, but they're in the garage somewhere, and I think they're kind of overkill for this job. I just need to hold one little piece of plastic to one other little piece of plastic, and the big grips would probably just get in the way, even if I could find them in that mess. Again, I couldn't find the planer earlier, but maybe tomorrow when I got a little daylight. Right now it's pretty dark in there. Anyway, that's what I'm going to try to do. Alright, I got the panel cut out and trimmed it, wedged it in there. It's it's not a perfect fit. There are a couple little, let me set it back in, I'll show you. There's some gaps, but turned out pretty good. Any gaps or highs or lows areas, lows areas. What am I, one of the Scandinavian guys from Metalocalypse? Low areas, just fill it in, file it down with when I got the epoxy on there. Okay, so I guess I gotta do the other one now. Alright, the other patch is cut and trimmed. This one actually came out a little bit better even than the last. So yeah, we'll just tape it on and use some body filler, but I'll have to buy it first. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do about the other ends. I guess I'm gonna have to patch this. I've got some longer pieces I can use. What I'm not entirely sure is I may just leave the bottom open, because A, I don't know if I have any pieces that are long and straight enough for that, and B, I mean, I just don't think it's going to be necessary. I think once the side patches are on, this thing's going to be sturdy enough. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I guess now I've got to dig through the pile and see if I can find any pieces that are long enough to do the sides. Okay, so what I did is I found a panel that I thought was big enough for both pieces. Got the corners as square as I could. I taped it on to the corner of the door here, and I used the marker to draw a line. So what I'm going to do now is use the saw to cut out this shape, clean it up, and then use it as a template to cut, a mirror image from the other piece, and hopefully it'll fit the other side. Alright, I got it cut out. It's not a perfect copy, but it'll do. I can fill in any gaps with the epoxy, sand it down. So yeah. Oh, that might be it for today. I'm not sure. Obviously I've got some cleaning up to do. I mean, in terms of cutting out like what I need from the carcass of the car, I think I'm done. I mean, obviously I'm going to try to use as much of this as I can. But to fashion the boots and the gauntlets, I'm probably going to buy some plastic boxes. Go to the dollar store so you can find something cheap. Cut those down. I mean, there aren't a lot of good, flat, straight panels left that I can use to form the boxes. My plan was to kind of make a mock-up in cardboard or paper. Tape that together and then use that to lay the box out. But I just don't see how I can do that with what's left. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to use as much as I can. I still want to use those little frame pieces for something. For the helmet, I can probably use a lot of this. I'm not, there's the curved pieces over there I was talking about using for the helmet. I'm not sure if I still want to do that. I think it might be more trouble than it's worth. But yeah, I think I've pretty much done everything I can at this point. I guess I do still need to cut those caps for the edge of the bed, but all right, yeah, I guess I can do that. I'll pick through what's left and see if I can find some parts I can use to make those parts. All right, so for the bed caps, I did what I should have done with the doors, which is I took a piece of this box here and cut out a template. Traced it with a marker, cut it out. So what I'm going to do now, I don't have one piece that's big enough for, long and wide enough to cover either of those. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to piece this part together from the scraps that I do have. So these are the two best pieces I have free, but if they don't cut it, pun unintended, I could always cut those two parts off of what's left of the chassis. I got both the kitties bothering me right now because it's getting to be close to their feeding time, but I don't want to feed them just... No, drop that. Drop that. Drop it. Good girl. I want you choking on that. I don't want to feed them just yet because I don't want them to get in the habit of bothering my parents, you know, before it's their actual feeding times. They have a... No, don't do that. Anyway, so I've got to cut those out. Probably use the jigsaw to straighten up this cutout. There's a little bit of curve left on this. So yeah, I'll clean up that edge and I'll probably tape the two pieces together, then use my template to trace out what I need. Alright, unfortunately, without a table saw or even a good bandsaw, that's about as close of a pair of square edges as I can get. It's not perfect, but it'll do. Alright, so I've got one sheet that I can use to cut out the first of the caps. Alright, I've got the panel cut out here, and it looks like it's a pretty darn good fit. This might be a little off in some gaps, but that's okay. It'll all come out when I get the epoxy on there. Alright, now I guess I gotta grab my template again, and well, actually before I do that, I'm gonna have to free up those panels, aren't I? This, ladies and gentlemen, is why you probably shouldn't be working on projects like this when you're tired. This is the second piece that I cut. Notice anything wrong about it? I used the template backwards or upside down, however you want to say it. If I were to put it on like this, I'd have this ridge in the middle because this piece that I used was from a section that had that molded in, but you know, it's flat on the other side. But it doesn't matter because they're mirror images of each other. I'll just use the new piece I cut on that side, and I'll use the first piece I cut, which doesn't have that ridge, on this side. So it's not a big deal. So yeah, there we go. Just, well, obviously that won't happen when it's epoxied on, but I'll just epoxy it on. The edges are a little rough, but that's okay. I left a little bit of elbow room because I figured I was gonna have to sand this thing down. So there we go. That does it for this video. I already fed the cats, but I better clean up here because Mom and Dad are coming home tomorrow.